Hi, I'm Rich Ochoa, and let's start with a disclaimer. I have no training in medicine or in disease analysis. I'm an engineer. I work at one of the greatest tech companies in the world, and I spend a lot of time in big data, spend a lot of time in little data, and then projecting how that little data will evolve when you get more and more data samples and the user base grows. Today is March 25th, 2020. And we are about to hit 1,000 deaths in the US from coronavirus. Mark the date, mark the death count. You will look back at this in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or sometime, anytime in perpetuity, and be astounded that on March 25th, the death count was only 1,000 in the US. Today, March 25th, was the first day that we hit 200 deaths in one day. 20% of all people in the US who have died from coronavirus since the first death back in early February, I think, 20% of all deaths occurred today. Tomorrow, March 26th, there will be 250 deaths, maybe 300 deaths. This is a highly contagious virus. We are living in a new normal. We are living in a world now where touching a doorknob that somebody else touched 4 days ago can get you killed and can kill your whole family. Now, I'm hearing and reading a lot lately about the economy and how we have to get this thing moving again and we have to put people back to work. Even President Trump is talking about a glorious Easter when the churches will be filled. On Easter, 5,000 to 10,000 people in the US will die from coronavirus. It's a guarantee. It's going to happen. And Trump is trying to convince you that you should go to church that day. 34 people at one church in Arkansas, in Greers Ferry, Arkansas, have tested positive for the coronavirus. 34 in a small town church. If you want to go to church on Easter Sunday, there's a good chance that some of the people there will get to meet Jesus a lot earlier than they think. The death rates that you've been hearing, about 1 or 2%, those death rates are based on the presumption that those infected will have access to health care. If we don't social distance, if we don't follow those recommendations from the CDC, if we go back to work on Monday, the day after Easter, the death rate will not be 2%. The hospital system will not be able to take care of all the patients who need care. Not even close. There will not be enough ventilators. In Italy already, a civilized country with a good healthcare system, infected patients are laying on the ground on a towel in the hallways of hospitals in northern Italy. Patients who need ventilators to live are not getting ventilators. This will happen in the US if we don't take this more seriously. Let me give you some examples. Yesterday, I had to go inside of a drugstore to get a prescription filled because I have asthma. I cannot risk being without my medication and being infected. it would not be good for me. When I walk in the drugstore, my head is on a swivel. Nobody is getting within 6 feet of me, not even the pharmacist. This lady comes up and walks up to the lady in the line behind me, who's distancing herself from me, gets 2 feet from her face and says, "Oh, are you in line?" Because the lady was standing 6 feet back from me, which is not a normal place to stand under normal conditions, and acts like the lady must not be in line. She violates her space. She's yapping on the phone. She's leaning against the post. She gets up to what I just did there can kill somebody if I have the coronavirus, even if I don't know that I yet have it. She walks up to the counter. They have a line 3 feet back from the counter where they're asking people to stand behind that line. She walks right up to the counter, shoves her gut against the counter, takes her purse, puts it on the counter, and leans over and starts talking to the pharmacist. People like that lady will cause other people to die because she's spreading the virus to others unknowingly. She's ignorant, and those people will eventually be in a hospital that cannot give them a ventilator. The death rate will not be 2%. If people cannot get ventilators, if our hospital system is overstressed and has to refuse ventilator service and ventilator care to patients, those patients that don't get a ventilator, many of those people will die, and the death rate will be 4% or 5%. The numbers are going through the roof. Now, the U.S. is a country that is primed to be the worst impacted, and I'm going to tell you why. China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, those countries, when the government tells you to stay home, to social distance, or to comply with some request, those people are used to being obedient. Those people know that they will be caned in Singapore, that they will be locked up in China. There are major repercussions. Citizens of those countries know that they have to fall in line, and they're used to falling in line. People in the United States we believe that we are entitled to freedom and independence. It's how we were raised. We have it ingrained in our minds that this is an entitlement. It's our entitlement to go to church and worship. It's our entitlement to attend funerals and bury the dead. It's our entitlement to get married on any day we see fit. It's our entitlement to play on the swing set. We are entitled to freedoms as citizens of the greatest country in the world. Well, forget everything that you know about liberty, freedoms, and entitlements. Right now, you don't have those entitlements. Stop thinking the way that you were thinking on January 1st of 2020. Tens of thousands of people, in the best case scenario, will die in the U.S. It is very likely, unless Americans change their behavior, millions of people will die. Millions. Do not listen to the president. Whether you believe his stance on abortion, gun control, you love what he did to the economy until a month ago, none of that matters. If you've always been a supporter of the president, now is the time for you to watch him in a news conference and come to the realization that the man is delusional. He told us that everybody who needs a test will get a test. We all know that that's not true. The numbers of infected people official affected people have been estimated by disease experts to be about 20% of the actual infected number. In other words, for every official positive test case, there are 5 times that number of people who are positive. We are not testing. We are not testing on the scale that we need to be. We've had choke points in test kits. Now we have choke points in processing test results. Many test results that do get processed, there's a 5 to 6 day delay in results. Those delays are going to get longer and longer. Some people have been tested, gone through the test procedure, and those tests are not sent off. I forget the guy's name, but he was an actor on The Walking Dead. You can look all this stuff up that I'm telling you. Goes in, gets a test, is symptomatic. They're interviewing this guy on TV. He's coughing all over the place, and he was told that the government, he was told by the hospital staff that the government informed them that unless he had more severe symptoms, his test would not be sent off for processing. Whatever you think the number of cases is in the US, it's much, much lower. Whatever you think the death toll in the US is right now, and you start reading stupid memes that are 3 weeks old, where people posted the H1N1 death toll was 40,000, coronavirus death toll 40. Well, in the US, those people look pretty stupid now because that death toll is no longer 40, it's 1,000. Quit citing low death rate numbers from today. It's not about what the numbers are today. It's what the models in the curve show that the numbers will be when this is over. And if we don't change our behavior, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of Americans will die. Millions. Experts agree. All disease experts who are in the know agree that if we don't institute and follow social distancing and isolation practices, over half the population will become infected. And at a 2% death rate, we are talking about 3.5 million people. And that's at the 2% death rate. When you have all these people needing care, hard choices will be made by hospitals on which people get that care and which people don't. And the people who don't get that care will die at a much higher rate than 2%. You can't go to the park and let your kids play in a swing. You can't go for a walk and let somebody pass you 2 feet away, passing the other way, as you breathe their wake. If they sneezed or coughed, or were even talking on the phone and spittle came out of their mouth, those airborne particles could sit and land on your lips, and you could be dead in 2 weeks. This is nothing about politics. No matter whether you are a Democrat or Republican, whether you've always supported Trump and have stood by him or not, when this guy gets up in front of the whole world and says things like very, very, and many, many, and the markets are looking good today, and this country was not designed to stay home. I don't care what he wants to see or what he hopes to see. That doesn't matter. We would all love to be back at work in a couple weeks. This is going to get a lot worse, and it's not better until you see the numbers going way, way back down.